Things that never were. Oh yeah, I am back. Oh, it feels good. Just did a long job training thing. You know how life gets sometimes, where you just don't have the time to make these videos. But I'm back. And I'm so excited to be back, to be working on videos again, get back to my personal life. Oh yeah. I've been requested to do this because last time we did RFK in 1968, and everyone's just like, you know, there's this scenario on the campaign trail showcase, and yes, we're doing that for the very first time. Normally, I always do the new campaign trail. Essentially, it's the same thing, except there's more mods on this one. But anyway, RFK, what a guy. I have right in front of me, actually, RFK's book, To Seek a Newer World. I saw it at the bookstore. It looked really, really good. I'm excited to read this. It says, "It's time to face the truth. Where does he stand? What does he stand for? Vietnam, the crisis in our cities, the youth rebellion, nuclear control towards a China policy, the Alliance for Progress. You'll find the answers in the big new political blockbuster, To Seek a Newer World by Robert F. Kennedy." Well, this mod covers if RFK was the incumbent president, you're going to make some decisions as him, and then ultimately head into the 1972 election. Oh, what a barn burner that election was in real life. But let's read the prologue. This is quite similar to Nixon with Peace and Honor. It goes really into depth. Should be pretty good. Prologue. This is a story. This is a story about the leading characters of mid-century American life. It is not events as they happened. It is about an America that lived through the summer of '68, the violence of Vietnam, and the mismanagement of Johnson. It is one where people could tell themselves that the embers of liberal optimism still burned, that America's children need not perish at home and abroad. It is a story about Robert Kennedy. He believed, he understood what America, the real America, cried out for. He understood that the people had been abandoned by a White House more invested in intra-party machinations, than the burdens of war. Kennedy dreamed of a better tomorrow. He sided with love over hate, with peace over war. He would fight not for a few, but we the people. And with his victory over the doubters, he would demonstrate that the American dream could still triumph. This is the truth as he believed it to be. It is a story he told with absolute devotion. We are nothing without stories, and so we invite you to believe as he did. If only for a moment, we ask that you believe in things that never were. The curtain rises. Kind of interesting because imagine a world where, RFK won in 1968, gets reelected in 1962, and then never have President Nixon. How different things would have been. It could have happened, though. And we might be looking at Richard Nixon like William Jennings Bryan instead. All right, so it's going to go from 1969 to 1972. A stage divided into two halves, joined by the suggestion of marble columns. The scene is non-realistic, exaggerated. The lighting is dim and poetic. Images of chaos and uncertainty are projected onto the performers as two scenes play out simultaneously. At stage left stands Bobby Kennedy, surrounded by the trappings of power: an American flag, a desk, a red telephone. It is minimalist, hollow. He does not face the audience, but instead a large painting of John F. Kennedy. As he stares, his phone begins to flash. He does not move to answer. On the right side of the stage sits Rogers Morton, RNC chairman, a symbol of decline. His leather-back chair is worn, his black rotary phone chipped. Overhead are a set of faded paintings. Lincoln, Roosevelt, Eisenhower. An empty space is left for a successor who never came. Morton's head is in his hands. When his phone begins to ring, he appears paralyzed. The images intensify. The phones screech. Now impossible to ignore. The two men move to answer. So is he going to be our opponent? Well, we'll see. Made by the W team. That's another scenario I have been suggested to do. Okay, so obviously we're going to be RFK. Okay, he's the only one we can pick. All right, let's read about him. Bobby Kennedy is the President of the United States and a mass of contradictions. He is an agent of the shadows and a magnetic and hypnotizing performer. He oversaw integration of the South and is a figure of white rage. Oh my God, those are racist. He is an anti-establishment icon and princeling. A hawkish dove, a radical liberal, a popular loner. He has no great legislative legacy, has founded no great institutions, and yet embodies himself in the possibility of redemptive change. The performer playing this role should be able to capture Kennedy's intensity, his adolescent self-aggrandizing conviction that he alone must end an inherited war, heal a fractured party, undo his predecessor's welfare system, and shepherd a nation still trying to decide if it should grow past the traumas of the previous decade or regress to an earlier age. While disguised by a constant simmering rage, Bobby's most essential characteristic is a deep loneliness, spurred by a fear that allowing others in will only bring him more hurt. Ideal performer for this role is a male in their mid-40s in the tenor range. Well, that's not me. All right. As someone who's only in their 20s, we'll see how this goes. And we got Russell Long, and he is related to Huey Long. And we're going to be covering Huey Long in one of these future videos. Should be pretty good. Russell Long distinguished himself as a failure the moment he entered the national stage. While liberals were willing to ignore his presence on the ticket as a necessary sacrifice for winning, the segregationist scion proved incapable of holding up his end of the bargain. While Kennedy won the election, he did so without carrying any of the former Confederate states. Long was supposed to win over. For this alone, Long was written off as a deadweight before he had even assumed his position. These estimations proved correct. Over the past 4 years, the son of a fascist has moldered away in the Naval Observatory, playing no meaningful role in any of the administration's initiatives. Kept on the stage solely by inertia and spite, he is now little more than a piece of the background than a true character. Well, that's not good. Is he going to weigh us down? All right. Let's do this. All right. Man, this is going to be pretty intense. We got 30 questions. Let's run a country. Let's make this work. It is not a fair world. If it were, you wouldn't be sitting in the Oval at all. You'd be helping Jack organize his papers after 8 years as president. It wouldn't matter if it were Johnson or hell, Nixon in the White House. It wouldn't be your problem. But here you are. If it cannot be a fair world, you are determined to make it just one. The question is how. Though it's been a year since your inauguration, you've gotten little done legislatively. A fact the LBJ-loving sycophants on the Hill won't let you forget. They're so sure you won't get anything done. How do you put the bastards in their place? All right. Got a picture there. Vermin. Oh, man. Johnson. Now, obviously, if you guys don't know, RFK and LBJ really didn't get along. All right. So let's see what we're going to do. This administration has some untapped genius that just go to waste negotiating with these spoiled brats. Moynihan never got shot to spread his wings. UNRWA definitely wants something under his belt before he wallops Reagan. I'll sit back and let our power shine. Let's see. John, even that bastard Lyndon, knew how to grease the wheels with a good speech or two. When the State of the Union comes around, I'll let them know I mean business. Put a stern face in front of those cameras. I mean, that seems pretty good, you know. All the Kennedys, pretty charismatic. Could be good. We know who the holdouts are. There are 8 or so snakes in need of a good rooting down south. If they're too childish to keep playing politics, that's fine. I'll send Long their way. Let's see them tell them no. But isn't Long kind of dead weight on our, administration? When I was Attorney General, I brushed shoulders with those FBI boys more times than I can count. They owe me. I'll rummage through what they've got on those sleaze bags on the Hill. Make them beg it not to go public. So how do we want to be? Do we want to be mean? I think for now, since we're kind of in the beginning of our term, I'm going to go with number 2. I think that's going to be good. You avoid a lengthy script and instead puncture an hour with short, sharp talking points on a range of topics, from poverty to education to civil rights that you demand Congress address. They're not the most effective verses in the gospel according to Kennedy, but it sates the masses and avoids tying you too firmly to any one issue. All right. Nixon and South Vietnam tried to fuck you in 1968. Still, you vowed then to figure out a peace settlement in Indochina to succeed where Johnson failed. And you aren't about to give up. As America crawls into 1970, you get word the North wants to delay talks until the South hosts free elections. The South, meanwhile, just had a coup to toss out Thieu, I think that's how you say that, former president of South Vietnam, and his cronies. One that you exerted little effort to stop. It's all up to you to figure out America's new posture in the region. How will you force out these petulant and whining children together without compromising on your principles? Let's see. We'll have to cut back on aid until this new government acquiesces our goals. Saigon can't be reliant on us forever. So we're gonna kind of stab the South a little bit. Okay. This new government needs to learn independence. So whoever takes reign in the South, I hope we've made clear they must hold democratic elections. It's our moral prerogative to not just spread and protect democracy abroad, but stop this needless brutalization of our young men. Yeah, so all the South Vietnamese elections, if you look at them, none of them were really legitimate. You have the former president of South Vietnam, Diem, would win with 97% of the vote, so not really legit. The way I see it is we just tore down the scaffolding and are now asking this new flimsy government, dictator of the month, to stand on its own. After all we've done, it'd be sunk cost to continue our progressive withdrawal while leaving the citizens of the South as prey to the North. Until the new regime can follow through with its responsibilities, we'll just have our boys protect the South until they can protect themselves. This has already been a step too far. We have no moral standing to push the South any further. As long as these new guys follow through with hosting elections in the fall, they'll keep getting what we promised. Thieu's government. I don't want to see any more changes in plans. How are we going to deal with South Vietnam? This is going to be a thorn in our side. I honestly kind of want to go with the first one. I know we got to back the South no matter what, but, we're the ones who kind of have the power in this situation. So, yeah. We don't want a dictatorship. We want democracy. So let's see how this is going to go. The last stand of Thieu's Washington connections condemned this move, subjecting you to a wave of public backlash you hadn't faced since you were Attorney General. As veterans of the war return home, they expressed their heartbreak, seeing that after all they sacrificed these few years, you played right into Hanoi's hands. Uh-oh. But look at this. Wait a minute. Are the colors swapped? They are swapped. So it's blue for Republican and red for Democrat. And how are we doing? We're winning by quite a bit. So we're doing pretty good for ourselves. So obviously I think California, got to go there. 45 electoral votes. Ohio would be also pretty good. Yeah. So California is the bigger prize. But then again, Ohio's dead tied. So we'll go to Ohio first. While you've managed to placate most of the domestic opposition to Vietnam due to your sympathies to ending America's engagement in the conflict, your administration has remained complicit in painting over the impulses of the American war machine. You blankly stare at photographs now in front of you. Just out of sorry for butchering these Vietnamese names. Son Mi, American forces committed an atrocity that left over 500 civilians dead. Secretary McNamara had previously been of assistance in preventing the story from making it to the presses, but as the war continues to demand more of your government, explicit efforts to control the domestic narrative have become unrealistic. Oh God. I've traveled this nation. I've met with the people, and when I look into their faces, I know they won't be able to bear this news. They can't handle the heartbreak. They shouldn't be burdened with the knowledge of this heinous crime. I'll take this thing out of Mac's hands. Do whatever it takes to make sure this story doesn't reach people. Well, I don't want to hide it. It is what it is. We're going to tell the truth in this. This mess that Johnson left us is ridiculous. It's not fair. The bastard just kicked this can down the road so it'd blow up under us. God, make sure that we're ready to release what happened to the perpetrators when this story gets out. These fellows don't represent our armed forces. I think I'm just going to take the high road on this one. Nothing can prepare the public for this atrocity. I'll just have to go forward to Congress and authorize an investigation into the crimes that have taken place, such as this one. We as a nation will only be able to rest easily when we know this can't happen again, and that when one acts on their own selfish depravity, they're not doing so in the name of America. So we can blame Johnson, which seems kind of petty, but we're gonna, yeah. We'll go with the third option. We could hide it, but I think that's gonna hurt us quite a bit. So we don't want to cover anything up. So continue. While big names such as Senator Goldwater are early advocates of your proposal, the momentum dies when conservative congressmen bemoan that your legislation will create a culture that punishes soldiers for following orders. A lone protester brandishing a poster declaring, "Shoot me, I'm a soldier," drains all the drive you had left in this bill. Oh God. During the 1968 campaign, America's GNP soared, even as the ranks of the poor swelled. You asked your crowds what should be done about the growing disparities, unsure yourself. All you knew was that you could not look at any more images of starving, rat-bitten children. Today, your Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, Daniel P. Moynihan, has an answer. Instead of relying on Lyndon's dozens of welfare programs, America can reach its poor with a simple negative income tax that helps working families and tax increases that punish able-bodied lazy persons. Moynihan claims that this reduces bureaucratic waste and reward those who work. It is also likely to have broad support on the Hill. Okay. What are we going to do with this? All right, after Jack passed, I found myself revisiting his journal. He had indexed so many wonderful ideas, and I truly think that this is the kind of bill that would move him, that embodies his spirit. I shall direct our congressional allies to put this bill on my desk at the nearest convenience. Okay. Poverty is not an issue that can be solved with a single bill. It is a disease, a sickness. A long-term solution means building a movement. It means forcing Americans to confront injustices that many still deny. Call up the networks. I will conduct a televised tour of the country to show America the crisis that still faces us. Pat is a dear friend. He is smart and capable, but I can already hear the complaints about stinginess from the bleeding hearts in Congress. Let's give the outlines of this to a liberal like UNRWA to build up. UNRWA? He'll remove some of the provisions meant for welfare cheats and reinforce benefits to the needy in a way that gives our base something to celebrate, even if we lose some of the budget hawks in the process. Well, this is a kind of a hard choice because all three of these options seem pretty good. Do I really want to lean into the JFK that much? Or do I want to be my own man in this situation? We can go across the country to kind of tackle this issue to show that, hey, we're here. Or we can kind of, remove some provisions from this bill. I think I want to go with number 2 on this one. I think that's probably the safest option that we can do. Yeah, so we'll build a movement around this. The sudden turn leaves your aides scrambling, but you have never been one to hew to a convention. In late night meetings at the White House, you begin outlining how you can replay your poverty tour from the campaign. You talk about your plan to travel across the nation from town to town to show the neglect, poverty, the suffering. It doesn't matter that many of your staff think you're squandering an opportunity by playing television host. The vision is clear to you in your own mind. Yeah. Interesting. So it hasn't really changed a whole lot. So let's go to Missouri. Why not? Oh, yeah. What are the certain things that states are feeling? Fatigue, outrage, culture, ethos, and Vietnam. Okay. Interesting. We're doing pretty bad in South. Bumpkin. All right, so we're going to have like a George Wallace type in here. Okay, I see. Emboldened by your progress on the withdrawal from Vietnam, Senators McGovern and Hatfield have picked up your banner and sprinted further with it than you could have dreamed, crafting an amendment to the year's annual appropriations bill that, if passed, would require the end of all American military operations in South Vietnam by December 31st, 1970. Ooh, that is pretty sudden. This is considerably early than even the most optimistic intelligence assessments about your own withdrawal plan. All of your advisors are in agreement that this must not pass, but are split on how you should do it. What is your plan to kill this bill? Well, we want to give them some more time. Like, that's just not enough time at all. Like, at least 1971 or 2. Let's see. The estimates I've been hearing from Taylor and Connolly don't align with this at all, but I think this message would be understood if we got them to testify about it. Arrange some hearings and have the Joint Chiefs talk up the necessity of a safe withdrawal on their own terms. Invite those two up here. We can talk this over. We're not far apart in goals. I want to see this damn war end just as soon as anyone. But it matters how you go about it. We can arrange something with them, I'm sure. Well, I hope McGovern is willing to kind of, compromise with us a little bit, but I don't know. He's a bit of a hardliner. We've got to neuter this thing, cut the balls off of it. It's irresponsible, completely unworkable. Talk to Byrd about it. He can cool things off and make sure this doesn't damage our position in peace talks up north. We could also do that. The devil in the modern world. Okay. We can't just kill this and walk away. We have to counter it with something tangible. I want McNamara to get some numbers ready to show how far along we are and how long we'll be fully out. How soon we'll be fully out. I'm not promising a miracle like those two are, but we're committed to ending this war, even if the dates are flexible. So 2 or 3 I like. We can just talk to them. Hopefully they're reasonable. Yeah, McGovern's loyal to no sides, and Hatfield is both sides. Or we can get Byrd to whip him into shape. I think we'll talk with them. I think that'll be best. Because, even if we get Byrd to talk to them, the Democratic Party, at this point, I don't know, they're not fully united. So, we'll do it ourselves. Do our own dirty work. McGovern's indignation astounds you. Sitting in the Oval Office, he coolly declares that the room reeks of blood and declares you personally responsible for the deaths of thousands. What a guy! I inherited this damn war, and this guy, oh my God. Infuriated by the display, you mobilize what allies you have in the chamber to kill the amendment and proceed apace. Even as your own supporters decry working with Republicans to keep the war going, McGovern tells you he won't forget this betrayal. What a guy! Oh my God. Well, that didn't work out, so I should have just got Byrd to sick him. After the euphoria of your victory, liberals were given a splash of cold water when Congress got back to work. On the same month of your inauguration, your allies in the Senate were dealt a major upset when Maine's Edmund Muskie lost the vote for Majority Whip to West Virginia's Robert Byrd. As your friends agonized over his positions, you couldn't stop thinking about his steadfast opposition to Jack in 1960. As you see it, Byrd's history of antagonism to all things Kennedy could threaten the White House's policy goals if he isn't properly dealt with. Oh, God. I think we can reason with the man. He crawled up from the dirt farm to get where he is. We have a lot in common. He must want influence. So what's the harm in flirting with a court appointment? It's not like he'd actually take it. We get it. His gimmick is that he's Southern and he's pissed off at a Northern liberal like me. The solution is just obvious. Pit Long against the conservatives in our caucus who are worried about supporting us. He's the vice president, for heaven's sake. It's his one job. We've been able to do so much already in spite of his personal vendetta against the family. Byrd has a dark soul yearning for attention, and we can't even consider feeding it. Just imagine what it'd mean to all those groups who supported me. You know what? We tried to talk with McGovern, and it just didn't work, and I think Byrd is going to be the same way. He's on the opposite end. We'll just have Long sick him. Yes. Long has been cooped up in the Naval Observatory for months. Too many senators. He only emerged just to sing sweet nothings. They're just not having it. Senator McKeithen conspires to Long that he's just become a vassal of the elite under you, trying to lure him off the ticket. Oh, God, it's falling apart. What the hell? Oh, my God. Well, this isn't good. Seems like I'm kind of losing control of the situation. Uh-oh. Well, Ohio's kind of slipping away. We will go to Pennsylvania. Why not? Weeks after your so-called second poverty tour, you find yourself with the documentation Robert Drew sorting through hours of footage of your nationwide travels. Though your detractors mock it as an exercise of egotism and the abandonment of your legislative ambitions, the images you see of dilapidated homes and hungry faces convince you otherwise. This is a chance to change the conversation to counter Republicans who insist that America has never been better and the economy is working as it should. You want to pour images of devastation into the living rooms of the powerful and affluent. You want to shame them into accepting their role in this horror. The problem is time slots are limited and expensive. You'll have to make the decision on what specifically to share to make the largest impact. But I'm the president. I should be able to just take any slot I want. We'll trade length and content for a good time slot. Chop this into a tight, family-friendly special report that we can played during prime time. We'll get less than 30 minutes and have to navigate around centers, but we need as many eyeballs on this as possible. I think just getting it out, seeing it, having as many people look at it is the right thing to do. We don't need to make any sacrifices. Make this a series that we can syndicate to the networks. They'll broadcast it when they know they can get the highest viewing figures. It is vital that we share this unedited footage as much. Okay, so also unedited footage. Yes, because do we really want to... We'll see. We'll trade a good time slot for content. Okay, so we don't want that. So 1 or 2 in this situation. Do we want to chop it or have it unedited? Well, you got to keep in mind, back in the 70s, people had a longer attention span. If this was today, yeah, you want it nice and short. But then again, people really have the most time in the world. Less than 30 minutes is not the way to do it, so go with number 2. See the full horror. Oh, God. Viewer complaints flood the networks as thousands of morning breakfasts are ruined by images you mingling with a little black girl in the worst streets of New York, of an apartment overrun with rats, of families drinking from poison wells. The nature of these complaints confuses your staff. They're not sure if the backlash is racial or a result of a sensory overload. They cannot handle the constant, unsanitized poverty breaching into their pristine lives. Well, isn't that what we want? We want people to see it. I hope this works. It's been well understood by your staff that your relationship with Black America is a balancing act with the rest of the country. You yourself hold a deep fear of being seen as the black candidate, understandably so, as that would hinder your effectiveness as a leader to champion policy for an equitable society for both black and white citizens. Your presidency at this time is one of little achievement, and while many understand how the slow monolith that is legislative governing, just as many are confused as to why you haven't done anything yet. In a White House meeting originally organized to further stockpile your credibility, President Ralph Abernathy of the South Christian Leadership Conference is the first to ask, what will you do for the cause of justice as president? It's kind of a loaded question. Okay. My job is to chart the course of our country's future. And the one I see where we all prosper because we all have a voice, not just the television, but in the halls of Congress and perhaps one day the White House. I mean, that's nice and all. I feel it's necessary now to raise and empower the voices of the oppressed. Segregation is legally gone. But the decisions up top are still being made by those who were in charge in its heyday. Our nation needs to change at all levels of governance to look more like America. I think it's going a little too far. I mean, they all saw how the 68 Act went for Johnson. He was already on his way out, but that damn near buried him. I feel now the cause of civil rights is not one that can be fulfilled through legislation, but through legal protection. Go with the first option. I don't want to go too far on this. Your commitment to equality is applauded, though it's a sentiment the rest of the country shudders at. Most white Americans can take the idea of minority progress, but they dread the idea it will affect them in some fashion. Oh my God. But hey, looking pretty good now, I have to say, 308. I mean, we're not even close to election season yet, but people like us, so we'll take it. So, where should we go next? We can give the South some attention. Arkansas is within grasp, so why not? Before a sweltering summer, tensions across the country flare early as your most loyal foot soldiers clash confusionally with your ethnic supporters. Oh, God. University students bloody themselves in the streets, protesting the continuation of an immoral war In Vietnam, as the hard-working Irish, Italians, and Polish crack skulls quite literally with American flags. Nowhere is this outrage more pronounced than New York City. We're never going to lose New York, though. Where hundreds are reportedly injured from lunch hours alone. To prevent any further spilled blood and, of course, electoral consequence, you must mediate the crisis. Oh, God. To those students and agitators oppose the war on completely different grounds than my administration. You should have seen them. Calling for victory for the Viet Cong is outrageously offensive to the Catholic faith. Okay, we're definitely not going to go with that. What the heck is that answer? Those protesters, both sides, have forgotten what we as a country can be when we work together. However, the core message of the students makes sense. We need unity and we need peace. Our policy isn't going to waver, but I need to show them that I'm at least listening. All right, I think that one is pretty good. Very presidential. Leave it to the limp wrist Lindsay to fuck things up. He doesn't understand this pain the country's going through like I do. I need to get into New York as soon as possible to calm the tensions. Number 2. Yes. Hanging on the verge of what's politically acceptable, you meet with John Lennon and Yoko Ono, two virgins. Okay. Yoko Ono, oh my God. She is the most famous Japanese person, isn't she? You know, such a good singer. Screams in the microphone, my God. You can hardly hear what John has to say. Over the 3 record players spinning Give Peace a Chance, asynchronously, whatever. What you do here fills your heart as he informs you that, for the first time, he wouldn't vote Republican if he could. Is that a good thing? Well, John Lennon's pretty popular, so I hope that's a good thing. Lyndon Johnson persuaded Americans that economic liberalism meant that, with the firm guidance of the president, the economy could grow and grow forever and ever with no limit. The recent recession has shaken Americans' fate in that dream. Rising prices and nonstop increase in prices at both the supermarket and gas station have left Americans confused and enraged. You liberals promised nothing like this could ever happen. White-collar workers nationwide are now taking to the streets, protesting the rises in prices and your failure to contain our inflation rate. How can we contain Wall Street's boiling rage? Wall Street? Screw them. We have seen time and time again how the conditions at home inspire urban unrest of all kinds. I will absolutely find a way to stop inflation from destroying both of our finances and society. That's kind of generic. This is all because people don't realize their own power over our economy. We need to put together our own recommendations to consumers and ask them to Okay, that is not going to work. Okay? Now, because people don't want their quality of life to go down. So we got to be the strong man in this situation. I've seen children bloated by hunger and disease reaching out for help. These aren't those people. These are practically all Republican operatives. Real people know these are liars, and we need to tie our opposition to them. Or we put the FAP together. FAP. Top priority of your legislative agenda: consolidation and streamlining of welfare. Specifically, to stop this from happening, we need to use it as proof that we have a plan for controlling costs and making gas and grocery prices cheaper. So 1 or 4. So, are we going to let our plan go into action? Well, it's our plan. Let's do it. With how silent you've been on this measure, most Americans are first hearing of this bill just now and are angry you haven't passed it yet. The protests continue and grow even angrier. Oh my God. Well, that's not good. I mean, what was I supposed to do? They're going to be mad anyway. Like, am I just going to, say some nice, puffy words, be like, yeah, it's all going to be good. Everything's going to be all right. That's not going to work. Go to Wisconsin. Ending the mindless menace of violence is just another entry on your long list of broken promises. Man, they're really, really tearing into me. Black America is still separate and unequal, trapped in the ghettos, captured by white supremacy and viciousness. Nothing has changed since Johnson, and disaster is at our doorstep again. As rioting has broken out in most of the major cities across the United States, the cause is always the same ennui: frustration, mistrust, and your failures to rebuild cities as you promised. The time for talking about why is over. What will you do? I made my reputation as America's chief law enforcement officer, and I won't abandon it. We cannot tolerate the wholesale destruction of our cities. Deploy the army and arrest anybody for inciting this violence. Okay. That is interesting. I'm not a president for any black or white America. These tensions cannot be remedied by appealing to any interest group. I've simply got to appeal to a greater sense in all Americans. I think that's probably going to be the best one, because the last one doesn't seem good at all. Get on the television, ask the people the age-old question, what if God is black? No. Go with number 2. And I'm not going to deploy the army to the streets. That's just not going to happen. Your poverty tour has proven you haven't forgotten about the black community, and gives friendly community leaders a lot more to work with when it comes to taming tensions. Whites, however, are still deeply suspicious of your ties to the civil rights movement. I'm in support. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Although leaders in both major parties have attempted to temper expectations for the 1970 midterms, there's a clear tension in the air as results begin to trickle in. It's a bust. Oh, God. It was always going to be a shit show. You knew that much. You paced through the room, frantic as one House race flips, and then an incumbent senator falls. It's mind-racking. Democrats have managed to hold their own in the gubernatorial elections, at least. You need to change something before 1972. Anything. Well, I mean, it's just normal, though. Typically midterms, things flip. People always have second thoughts. It's a completely average midterm election. We must factor in the results, but we cannot let them scare us into making any sudden judgments. We're going to keep going forward, perhaps with some more caution. We must right the ship, clearly. This isn't working, and the entire damn thing has blown up in my face. I'll try to soothe some fears with some more friendly rhetoric for those in our party remaining. So, obviously, we just got wiped out. So, I don't want to go with this. Jesus, they're getting torn apart. We're being punished for something out there. The people are angry as hell. If we don't figure out every little thing that contributed to this, it'll be us getting the boot in 72. I want a full autopsy on this shit show. Don't sugarcoat it. Really, there's no good option. I don't want to go with number 2. I don't think that's going to work. Number 1. Number 1's just like, whatever. Number 3, this is more of the outlandish answer, but let's find out. It's a thick packet that doesn't pull many punches, explaining the unfortunate and gruesome deaths of the political careers of many House and Senate members. You look through it like a hawk, preparing for a race still yet 2 years away. Oh, God. Well, we're going to get wiped out. All right. Yeah, things are not looking good. They are not looking good at all. We're kind of losing control, but maybe we can come back. Judgment Day comes as the man who made you president, Secretary of State John Connally, has informed you of his intention to leave the administration come the end of the month. Isn't he going to become a Republican pretty soon anyway? While he's just 3 inches taller than you, his swag dwarfs your own. You fear without a Southern man and one of Lyndon's own in a major role. Your administration will be exposed from all sides. Offended by his disloyalty, you've called John to the Oval, graciously willing to give the man a second chance. Cocksucker. That Californian fat ass is gone anyways, and Johnny's just as mad that he's close to that bloodbath in Vietnam. I'll pitch him the treasury role so he can get some credit for our economy. That should keep his lips sealed. Who's going to reward me for being lenient with this prick? Never mind the forgiveness. I've got to make sure he kisses the doormat on the way out, because there's no way he's ever getting within an inch of the White House again. I'd have him out a decade ago if Jack weren't more patient than saints. He's lucky he even made it this far. We can't have him pitching for the other team, though. Never. He's going to have to be a good soldier out in the real world. Take some swings at Tower and defend our Vietnam policy to his hick and oil buddies. Okay. Well, we're pretty angry. How are we going to handle this? I can be really bitter, or I can kind of console him a little bit. Either way, this is a very sticky situation that I don't like. I can be really mean. Or take some swings at Tower. Connolly's not going to want to work with us, though. Like, get him out of here. Get him out of here. Connolly, I'm pretty sure he switches to a Republican after anyway. Get his ass out of here. John sits there and takes your restrained verbal outrage. The next day, the media rages with intensity of 1,000 sons for disrespecting their darling segregationists. You wish it was his brains on Jack's suit all those years ago as Kennedy loyalist Sergeant Shriver fills his post. It's falling apart, guys. Get him out of here, though. The dust has settled from last year's riots, but the scars still linger. The city still fester with disease of discontent, and race relations are at a historic nadir. You need to do something to fix this. This is what you were elected to do. Heal. At Bedford, Stoy, whatever that is, we've proved that the inner city can better itself, heal the blight all on its lonesome. We can do that again. Set up legislation for community action zones, tax credits to get the private sector involved. It will work. We just need to make the model national. The war is raging, the economy flailing. We can't deal with the bullshit anymore. We'll keep enforcing the law, VRA, CRA, and so on. But it's too late for us to do anything else. Far too late. You don't want to be weak. The only winning side in this fight is the side of law and order. If community leaders can't stop the shooting, we'll have to. Unleash a whirlwind of new penalties for rioting, harsher sentencing, and funding more police. It's only the way. We don't want to create a police state, though. At the end of the day, whites abandoned us and blacks didn't. They trust me. They want me in office. We need to protect them. Get them voting more than ever. They're the only people who give a shit. But I don't want to lose my white vote completely, so it's so sticky. We'll go with number 1 on this one. Congress has no interest in rewarding rioting neighborhoods. The Finance Committee chair declares the bill dead within a month of its announcement as Republicans crow about how you're rewarding bad behavior. Oh, God. Wow. We're really suffering out here. We will make this work, though. We will. With more American troops returning home every month, the war has taken a backseat to more pressing economic concerns for most voters. But that doesn't mean deteriorating the situation in South Vietnam isn't an embarrassment for your administration. Key, the U.S.-backed strawman in Saigon, has refused to hold any democratic elections, much to both Washington and Hanoi's dismay. If he fails to meet the deadline laid out in the Paris talks, the whole peace deal could collapse, along with the progress you've made ending the longest war in American history. How will you resolve this crisis? Oh my God. Just hold a fair and free election. What, are you afraid of losing? Key, that backstabbing piece of shit. Cancel all aid to the Tin Pot madman. I'm not going to be pushed around by this asshole. We're getting out whether he likes it or not. Do we take a gamble and just get out of there? Like, come on. He's never going to agree to those elections, so we need to find other ways of preventing Hanoi from blowing up this whole agreement. We've got some contacts with the Chinese now. Tell them we're serious about getting out, but the North has to play their part. Damn it. We need these elections. Send Taylor over there to make it clear this isn't a piece of advice, it's a demand. If he doesn't live up to our democratic principles, we won't have any legs to stand on. What a pain in the ass Key is. Can't we toss him out? Try another general. There's no way the military loves him. We know how dire their morale is. Make some contacts. So 1 or 3. Taylor, director of the CIA. I mean, I'd rather do number 1, but I'm sure that's going to look just horrendously bad. So we'll go with number 3. After weeks of harrowing negotiations in the Saigon Palace, dodging artillery shells fired by Vietnamese guerrillas, Taylor finally gets Key to agree to run for office by the end of the month. When the numbers come in, it's yet another humiliation, with him allegedly winning 95% of the vote. Key calls the globe how magnanimous he is, agreeing not to win 99% of the vote as he originally wanted. Oh, that looks so bad. That looks so bad, man. Oh my God. Just having to deal with that. We should have just pulled all the aid then at that point. UNRWA always used to think this was inevitable, but it doesn't make it less of a crisis. The French are furious with American spending and being infected with our inflation and are coming to collect their gold, as Bretton Woods agreements allow. This is Johnson's crisis. He lit money on fire and for his harebrained schemes. He let the London gold pool collapse, and he left you to foot the bill. Solving this requires moving past his legacy, killing the inbred darlings. Where do we start? Okay, the French are pushing too far. Hold the line on the spending. Don't give them an inch. The people in our cities and in the South need this money more than the frogs need it for wine and cheese. If they want to play chicken, make them blink first. Do you really want to make the French that angry, though? The Congress has its own plans that gives us cover. Fight them hard for the cameras, but let them take the knives out in private. We need to start cutting. When you're at the brink, you need to compromise. The base is going to revolt, but we can't make it our problem when the fate of the country is on the line. Give a big address. Tell the country we need to make sacrifices. We need to be responsible. And make a deal to cut spending down the line. That's what has to happen. Oh, God. Let's see. Congress. Do it. House Republicans push through a major bill cutting spending to the bone, abandoning preschoolers, immigrants, the unemployed. Oh, my God. You sign it, telling the press there was no other alternative. Pledging to fight them in the future, of course. Well, it's not looking good. My God, this is like slipping away like crazy. We're not even in election season yet, but our approval is not looking good. It really isn't. We got New York, we got Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Michigan, and of course, D.C. And that looks like about it in Maryland and Hawaii. So I guess we'll take a trip out to Oregon, see what we can do, because the country is really mad at us right now. J. Edgar Hoover has spent 47 years terrorizing the American public while living a life of excess and immorality. Now it seems like the old bastard's time might have run out. Over the weekend, a housekeeper found Hoover unconscious after suffering a heart attack, though you doubt he had a heart attack to begin with. Now he lays in a hospital, rotting while his partner, Clyde Tolson, manages the bureau. With the tyrant away from his throne and Washington aflutter with concerns about the Septuagint, these words, man. Director, now is your opportunity to act. Okay. It is our chance to get a leg up on him. Send our people to his office. See if we can get our hands on secret files. Burn anything compromising. Keep what we can on our enemies. That's going to look really bad on us, though. Like, really bad. Like, you're going to just take advantage when the dude is in the hospital, just, raid his office, basically. Oh, man. That might be worse than Watergate. Or we can do let him rot. He'll be dead and buried soon enough. Then when he's gone, we clean out the place top to bottom. I mean, they're both kind of the same, then. You know what? I got nothing to lose. Let's do the first one. Screw it. Candymen storm FBI headquarters like sand colts storming the Bastille. They cast aside Hoover's longtime secretary, Helen Gandy, and root through his personal files over outrage pleas. Tomorrow there will be press reports, questions from Congress. All these can handle because now you have the dirt. Is that going to help us out in our approval rating, though? The administration is like a Russian family fleeing over the snow pursued by wolves, says one of your economists as he gestures to the charts erected in your private office. Red lines, rising prices and unemployment, rumors of a European run on U.S. gold reserves. We need to throw some babies and slow down the wolves. You purse your lips. Always another crisis. Always some new fucking problem. If it had been Jack instead of Johnson before, these economic troubles would have been sorted. The only good thing is that with the Democratic Congress, you likely have the power to sort this mess out. Alright. There's more important problems than this shit. Can't we just throw some kind of stimulus? Send some money to voters. We can have conversations about long-term solutions after I figure out Vietnam and the election. Giving money to the voters actually works. It does. So maybe that could work. I don't need to do anything that would spook people. Just talk business, lay out the cards. We can keep the economy humming along without the need of government action. This shit could blow up in my face if we don't act. I'll talk to Burr directly. We'll get him to greenlight price controls for a few months. Take some heat off the economy. All right. So, giving money to the voters, it does help. I don't trust Bird. I really don't. So, do that. Bird crows at the request and then spends weeks pecking apart your administration's work in the name of fiscal responsibility. The bill finally approved by Congress is a token effort. Birdseed that is quickly swallowed up by a few of the most needy. Everyone else feels hungrier than they did before the miserable exercise began. Oh, no. I can't do anything right in this scenario. It's all going wrong. It's like I'm answering everything wrong. My God. Where can we go next? I guess we'll go to Maryland. And we're on question 19. I got to turn this around somehow. But it seems like the entire country is just falling apart. Everyone is feeling the squeeze these days. And that includes the kooks in Congress. While our patchwork response to the international crisis has been implemented, many fresh faces trying to make a name for themselves are raving on about how that wasn't enough. Representative Weinberger from California is one of those nuts, whose congressional office has taken to stocking up glasses of jelly beans for every $1,000 we run a deficit. While a hollow jester, it's inspired by a showdown on the floor to challenge our agenda's spending goals as public sentiment seems to creep their way. Economics just seems too easy to these morons. It's best we teach them a lesson. All right, let's play ball. If they want to make cuts, Get them to show the public just what they want to do away with. Who's going to sit idly by as Grandpa stops getting his Social Security checks because of these dicks? I mean, might as well. I think that's good. It's not like they have the votes to do anything. Just have Albert ram this thing through like he's always done. What is this, primary school? We've all done this, and I'll be damned if some play prop stands between a family being able to have a good meal at the end of the day. Trash this place. We'll go with number 1. They're dumb, but not so dumb to propose cuts to a welfare system already on its last legs. They want those hippy-dippy tree-hugging programs with no payout gone. Once that's clear, everyone rewards their tantrum and goes on with their lives. Oh no, not George Wallace. What's he going to do? Is he going to split the vote again? Not that it was ever in doubt. George Wallace has yet again taken upon himself to run for president as a third-party candidate, lashing out against your ultra-liberal administration and claiming you've been a president for the coastal elite. He is once again expected to take a large swath of the vote, with multiple states in tow, dragging your economic platform and demonizing your anti-American race agenda. He continues on his crusade against the Democratic Party. What the hell? Get out of here, George Wallace. You lost once, you're going to lose again. He's been a pain in my ass for nearly a decade now, and I have had enough of it. Dig up everything we have on him, leave no stone unturned. Oh, man. This is completely expected. Wallace is a spiteful, hateful, sad little man, and will win despite his temper tantrum. Wallace has made his career off of stepping on people's toes, but he has never, ever thought about what will happen if he goes against someone with more power than him. Send him a message, a threat, that he should tread lightly from now on, for the sake of the nation. All 3 of these are pretty good. We can be confident. So I think this is probably the weakest one. We could dig up stuff on him. Yeah, we'll do it. Expose this guy. I'm thinking he's already kind of exposed himself, but do it anyway. The publicly known situation with Wallace's deceased wife and former Alabama Governor Loreen is well documented internally, but there are plenty of other goodies stashed away. His brother's tax evasion, his own corruption. It's a whole treasure trove. Oh, yeah, but here we got George Wallace. Does he have more electoral votes than me? He doesn't. But this Morton guy, who isn't even running yet, is running away with it, which is unfortunate. But, yeah, we're losing pretty badly. So in the popular vote, I mean, we're not that far off. I think something big has to happen. But whatever is going to happen next, I don't know. So we'll go to Michigan. Undoubtedly, still livid over what he believes was theft of the presidency at your own hands, the Minnesota mystic Eugene McCarthy has announced an independent run for the presidency. Okay, so we're split on 3 sides. Great. All eyes are on white America as cities burn across the country. McCarthy presents himself as a liberal alternative who can call a spade and end the violence in the streets, just as you claimed 4 years ago. While not a serious contender in his own right, he must be crushed if the party is to stay united when facing off against the true enemy this November. Okay. This all goes back to our offer to give him the State Department during the last primary. Thank God that fell through. Keeping quiet will be the best way to drive him mad. Anything else we could say would only give him the attention he so desires. What we need now is loyalty. No one loved the man Eugene McCarthy. They loved what they thought he was. And that appeal is long gone. I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with my one-time rivals to show this loner that he is an ant beneath my boot. We'll just ignore him. Silence is the best option. Besides, buys in liberal papers. McCarthy finds it hard to gain any major garner any major outlet to boost his campaign's message, though. All right. Is there anything I'm going to be able to do to turn this around? Because this has been an absolute unmitigated disaster, unfortunately. After so many painful years, you deliver an Oval Office address announcing an end to the American war in Vietnam. This should be able to help us, I hope. At last, all the troops are finally home, with images of gleeful families hugging, returning soldiers dominating press coverage. There's only one problem. The right doesn't believe it. Well, they should look with their own eyes then. In dark corners of the conservative commentate, there are conspiracy theories that this is all just a show, and that thousands of American boys are still rotting in bamboo cages, held captive as POWs by ruthless Vietnamese communists. How will you address these? Oh, God. I mean, that was a big thing, though, historically speaking, that even after the war, there are quite a few people who didn't go home, and people thought, like, oh, they're POWs. I watch a lot of Unsolved Mysteries, and that's a big thing that is covered in that show. So this is true, but how are we going to handle this? This is bizarre. Leave these freaks alone. Just tell the stories of the young men coming back, reuniting them with their families. People need to grasp that it's about the individual. It's heartwarming stuff, or at least it should be. Are these people fucking serious? Is this a goddamn joke? Counter their charges immediately. I don't want this to fester. We can declassify some intelligence to show how we freed every POW through negotiations. We need to talk about how we've moved beyond what my successors tried to do. The unfinished business of Johnson and the rest. This was the longest war in American history. Let's draw out this moment for as much as we can. Oh, man. We'll do number one. We'll just make people happy. Because more or less, like, when people did come home, like, yeah, there was these stories about people still stuck, but more or less people were just satisfied, like, okay, it's over. The fighting's done. So, let's do it. A White House ceremony where you shake hands of over 100 grateful wounded warriors is buried on page 9, seating the top story to Goldwater telling reporters, if the president thinks he can leave our men behind, he's got a storm coming from him. Oh, my God. Goldwater, what? Oh. Harrowing of hell. Goldwater, why? Why? Why must you do this? Okay, so we're doing a little better. So we're actually up against Richard Nixon now. Loser. For the third fucking time it's him. Some men just don't know when to quit. So we don't have much time. We gotta pull this together. So California is a must-win. Oregon, we can win this. We're within like a couple points of all these states. So the popular vote, we're behind 3 points. We got to make that up. So, but we got to be very careful with these states that we go to. So California is a must win, though. Just like last time when I did this, I need California for my path. I got to run it up there. I got 7 questions left. You frown. Unfortunately, Nixon's back again. Not that you would anticipate that he'll be any major threat to your re-election, but he's a pest that absolutely refuses to go away. He has joined forces with Senator Mark Hatfield, and they seem to be angling themselves as wise men who can bring intelligence to the Oval Office. They say third time's a charm, but that can't seriously apply to Nixon, can it? Oh, I wish I was Howard Taft right now and be like, vote for Kennedy today. You can vote for Nixon anytime. Anyway. What is he running on other than personal grievances and petty attacks? He's only running for president to satisfy his own ego, and everyone knows it. We have real ideas, and we've implemented real solutions. It's pretty good. He's only in this race to drag me down with him, but I won't fall for the bait. He wants nothing more than for this election to be about him. And we're keeping our eye on the ball for the American people. That is pretty good. I wish he'd just leave me alone. Christ almighty. I mean, we'll beat him. Of course he will. But I'd hope to go against someone else this time around. You'll be fine, though. We'll be fine. Number 2. You largely ignore your opponent, perhaps out of personal desire for him to just disappear. But that just isn't reality. He screeches about your improper treatment of a former vice president. For the first time, he's called himself that in months. We don't got much time on this, though, so it's looking pretty grim. Man, did I run this administration well? Pretty hard administration to run. While he's taken largely a backseat over the first term, Vice President Russell Long has made it clear he wishes to be of some use to you from now on. His desire seems honest as he pitches you some different ways he could aid in the re-election campaign. You can't help but feel bad for the poor guy. You kind of shabbed him for the last 4 years after all. Will you throw him a bone? Yes, I will. I need all the help I can get. Well, have him go out there and rally Democrats out on the Hill for us. He knows them better than I do, and they certainly like him more. I'm sure he can do this right. The best thing he could do right now is help hold down the fort in Washington. I get that he wants to be out there, but Lord knows what will happen if we're both gone. He can keep an eye on the White House for me. No, we need the help. There are certain states he can visit that I just can't. You know, like Louisiana and the rest of the South. I'm just not welcome down there. I'm sure it'll be difficult, but I trust Russell enough to go and give it a good fight. Well, there's no way we're going to get these. There's no way we're getting those southern states. Wallace has those on lock, so... Yeah, we'll rally Democrats on the Hill. He works hard to wrangle some of the members of Congress who had otherwise been running away from the White House way of thinking. Sometimes they give him the cold shoulder, other times they mock his seemingly devalued role on the campaign trail. For the most part, though, he helps keep leadership on their toes, refusing them let them go complacent. Is there any other option? No. So, yeah, of course, Russell Long. All right, so how are we looking? So we're gaining some states back. So California is definitely within play. So we can 100% win this. We're pretty close, but right now it is deadlocked, and I don't want to be deadlocked yet again. So it's looking okay. So Nixon obviously isn't the most popular guy. So my targets, Illinois and California. Maybe Ohio. So these three swing states, I 100% have the win. So we're tied in two of them. 45 compared to 26. So I'm going to have to spend equal time in all three of these states. Yeah, so we'll hit it up in Illinois first. It's as a bomb's gone off. The roaring echoes down the halls of the Democratic National Convention in Wilmington. It scares the living shit out of you. News cameras invade your space as you ascend to the stage. Delegates scream, "Bobby, Bobby, Bobby," right in your ear. Situated up high, you look down on the delegates from every state. They're screeching as one. Black delegates from New Jersey in unison with whites from Alabama when they look to you. They see the Democratic legacy, a massive backdrop with Roosevelt, Truman, John, and Lyndon. Your acceptance speech isn't just to the hall and the viewers at home. It's a mantle of the democracy. We gotta pick a good one. We're a Kennedy, so we gotta pick a good speech. Over these past 4 years, we made great progress in the strive for equality, not just in race or creed, but in the condition of which we all live with one another. I want to ask the hall and the viewers at home to let us continue in this progress for another 4 years. I take great pride in being able to stand in the lineage of this party and its commitment to expanding opportunity to the less fortunate. It was a similar conviction that drove me to run in the first place. I promise that every day I commit myself to nothing but that belief. It brings me great honor to be speaking to you all as president. Every day I am humbled by the awesome responsibility of the role to toil in service of the American people. So that's pretty weak. So One or two. We gotta keep in mind the white vote, so go with number 2. You're right where they want you. You're a marionette speaking the good word of the Democratic Party. Peace be upon them. You're shaking, wondering what else you could even do. You know what happened the last time you stepped out of line. If there's one thing that has been constant throughout your political career, it's been your less than rosy relationship with the South. In meetings with Southern allies, sometimes the personality clash is too much to bear. The elite Massachusetts rich boy versus the average hick congressman. It's never been a good matchup. To put simply, your politics and vision are incompatible with theirs. Despite this, you do well with their votes. How do you want to secure them? Do we even have a chance at Texas? No, we don't. No way. We don't have that LBJ Hubert Humphrey magic. Fuck them. We'll go the other way around. Some of these civil rights groups are getting real pissy, saying I'm slacking off and no longer committed to the cause. I'll give them what they want and show we're completely serious. What? I'm tired of these asshats and their shitty deals. We won 68 without their support and votes, and the idea that we need to keep making these hostage deals for political survival is dead. This is our party now. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty harsh answer. Well, clearly we need to knock off some of those damn fools who are trying to split the vote. Get Long to look into that. Those types of plays are in his blood, right? We'll get them off the ballot. That should help us some deal. I mean, in reality, though, like, let's say that we had the 1968 election without Wallace. Nixon would have won by more, I'm pretty sure. So, we're not going to win the South, but, you know, states like Missouri, I need every state I can get. So, because I think it would be in our best interest to have Wallace on the ballot because, you know, the vote splitting in those conservative states. I don't want Nixon to sweep the solid South because if he sweeps the solid South, he wins. No way I'm getting the South. So, we'll have to just say it's our own party. Some within the DNC urge you to reconsider. After all, your ability to win without Southern support in 1968 has been written off as nothing more than a fluke. Many congressmen from Dixie decry it as a death of the true Democratic Party. I'm sorry. I gotta do what I gotta do. Okay? Nixon wins this. I'm done for. We're almost there, but it's still deadlocked, man. I don't want to have another deadlock. So we got Cali. We got all the West. We got New Mexico. We need Missouri. Well, and also Ohio. Ohio would really put us over the top. But we just need one more. Well, Maine's not going to do it. So we need 5 more electoral votes. So Missouri is going to have to be that linchpin for us. So they're contempt, explosive, conservative, New Dealer, and bruised pride. So we got to do this very carefully. If we answer one of these wrong, then that could be it. Dick Nixon's campaign has been an odd affair. His running mate, Mark Hatfield, mainly sticks to the background, only defending his boss when need be, which seems to be a lot these days. Nixon spends his rallies rambling against your administration, talking about how only he can restore America to its proper place, and often making odd remarks about his campaign against your brother. How will you address this unsettling campaign? Can we just ignore him? I'd like for the vice president to keep my brother's name out of his mouth. I know better than anyone he'd view the beautiful nation we built in the years since his tragic passing. And I know he's looking down at us with a smile. Who's really running the show here? I can hardly believe that Mr. Nixon managed to make it this far without some serious help. I think we have to question if his conduct is worthy of the Oval Office. We need to go out on an all-out offensive. The Republican Party is offering vague concepts while our administration has delivered real solutions. We've seen what Nixon's secret plan has amounted to before, and we don't need them now. His charisma factor is an all-time low, and people are clearly turned away by the current iteration of Richard Nixon. We'll make sure we're out there personally so that we can compare me to Nixon on a personal level. Okay, so I'm not gonna do number one. That's just like I'm not gonna lean into JFK. Number two seems just a bit too extreme, I think. So 3 or 4. I think number 4, honestly, will be the best. You know, when you compare any Kennedy to Nixon, Kennedy's gonna win him over. So we'll do that. Nixon is described as sweaty and flabby as he travels throughout the country. Clearly, he puts more effort into his attacks against you than his own lifestyle at this point. You look quite good in comparison. All right. We got 3 questions left. As the campaign enters its final weeks, your fight against Nixon grows more resentful and personal by the day. He accuses you of being a disgrace to the presidency while you needle him on character issues and his vague policy positions. You begin to pick up the pieces for the final push of the election season. What will you do? He's still a crook. Even after everything, I know his dealings with South Vietnam back in '68, and I'll gladly talk about it if we had some better sources. But for now, we can stick to his general crookery and whatnot. I mean, calling him a crook is pretty good. But Vietnam in '68, oh God. We'll see. We need to be very candid about this election. Mr. Nixon is clearly not in the right state of mind to serve as commander-in-chief. His personality is driven by revenge, which is something we cannot take a chance on. This man was vice president of the United States. He was in both chambers of Congress, and he still refuses to talk about where he truly stands on many of the key issues of our time. I challenge him to speak on these things candidly at a debate. Debating Nixon. We could wipe the floor with this guy. He keeps running on his elder statesman's perception, but it's completely phony. We all remember what President Eisenhower said. Nixon did virtually nothing back then, and he hasn't done anything except for run for president for the past few years. It's a fraudulent title. Let's challenge this guy to a debate. Why not? I'm young, charismatic, he's old and sweaty. Let's do it. The word debate triggers a primal response within Nixon, and he immediately denies any opportunity for it to occur. Yeah! He begins speaking more about domestic policy, albeit in clearly strained descriptions. That should help us out quite a bit, though, right? It didn't help us at all, actually. So, Illinois we need. Because we're 5 away. Come on. I thought for sure if he's going to sit out a debate, then that would kind of seal it up. Bobby, the party man. St. Robert, the patron saint of the depossessed. RFK, the Dynast, the Dark Prince. You would never say anything but some nights. All you can think about are the roles you must play to keep the party together, the masks you wear to make yourself appealing for the other people. It's more than exhausting. It's destructive to the spirit. Gritting your teeth, you ask your staff to produce a list of names that you can meet with, people who might be able to scrabble together a few more voters for election day. Each of these people requires a different Bobby. But the question is, which one is the most important to keeping your coalition intact? What is this? George Meany, so AFL-CIO, so unions, okay. Look, working class whites aren't guaranteed supporters anymore. We have to show these people that we're gruff, that we're not sissies. The White House meeting will prove we're a candidate of the working man. I think this is going to be the most important one. We need that union endorsement. NAACP, we got that on lock. Hispanics, we got them on lock. Tom Hayden. Youth. I think we already got minorities and the youth on lock. So we need the union voters. Mimi likes men who don't vacillate, who aren't sentimental. You shake his hand gruffly, feeling the calluses of his fingers. He returns the gesture by clapping you hard on the back. Your effort, intellectualism, and anti-mob action forgotten. The two of you talk long about ways to boost wages, support the troops, and respect the flag. You laugh when he makes a crude joke about Jack's acting like Jill's. This is it, guys. This is it. So I think we got California. Illinois, I need. I am getting a little nervous. We have it in us to win this. If I check this, oh, I don't know, guys, because like this one's always not so representative. So you keep catching yourself grinding your teeth the final week before the election. It's maddening. This office and its goddamn responsibilities. You know that at any moment a new crisis could arise, a new catastrophe could appear. You keep waiting for the monsters to swoop in and take you, like they took Jack, but improbably, they never come. Instead, you find yourself seated aboard Air Force One. Your staff laugh about the campaign and their own humdrum problems, unaware of how delicate the word is. You feel your fingers clutch the armrests of your seat as the plane descends. This is your last trip. One more chance to connect with these people. The question is, where are you? What do you say? So the Midwest, out west, New York, or Appalachia? I have to say the Midwest. I think, even though this shows that we don't have California right now, I think that one's always not as representative. I think we got California. I need to solidify Illinois, or at least Missouri. And I think that's going to seal it up. We have it. We can win this. In Cleveland, you lay out in clear terms how you fought for their welfare on Capitol Hill. You've had tough fights and made tough choices. As you mingle with the crowds, however, all they want to ask you about is your glamorous family and illustrious history. Your glitz is a distraction from their own ordinary lives. You scowl. Election night is here. Make a wish, Bobby. Oh, we gotta turn out that music. Copyright. All right. It's coming in now. 10% complete. Where are this? All right, so Wallace. Oh, God. We don't have anything yet. Come on. We got Massachusetts. So if Nixon wins Illinois, I think it's done. So we had a very turbulent administration. Man, he's winning everything right now. Come on. We got to get some wins. All right, we got some wins finally. It's got Texas. Come on, we need Illinois. New York has taken a while to come in. All right. We got Missouri, so that's a good sign. That's a good sign, but California is a linchpin, and so is Illinois. So I don't want to lose those. Please. Please. We can win this. Come on. We got to win. Okay, we got Illinois, yes. I don't want to lose California, though. I don't want no deadlock. Come on. Taking a while. We need to win everything except for Alaska. All right, looking good. Come on, California. Pull through with us. California. California. Come on. No, not again. Oh, come on, man. Another deadlock. For God's sake. Oh. California, man. It keeps screwing me over. 0.4%. So that thing was correct. God's sake, man. I thought we would have had that one. But no, yet again, I've been deadlocked. I gotta turn that off. All right, so here we go. Foley's. RFK's world has shrunk to a remarkable degree in the days since the election. It wasn't just the agonizing counts, the recounts, the lawsuits, and countersuits. It wasn't the inconclusive nature of the election. The fact that he had been deprived of both a final, crushing defeat or liberating victory, it was the isolation. With his allies scattered across the country, meeting with governors and congressmen in the desperate hopes that he could keep his job, and his aides telling him to remain in Washington to appear in control and presidential, Bobby had little to do but walk the halls. He felt like a ghost most nights, gliding through silent corridors, ruminating on the situation in Vietnam, the struggling economy, the unrest in cities, the few press events he allowed, how he hated the press and their goddamn nattering, left him feeling colder and more alone than anything else. He had no one who understood him. He had nothing to do. He'd be angry if he weren't so depressed. Without thinking, the president pushed his way into the unlit Oval Office. He approached the resolute desk. He did not dare to look at the stack of newspapers and briefings on the election, but instead focused on the blinking light of his answering machine. Before he could stop himself, he clicked the device and listened to the profusion of the voices filled the room. Bobby, it's Kenneth O'Donnell. The plan to swing the election was a bust. I'm on my way to talk to the governor, but it really looks like we might be staring down the barrel with the House. A pause. I'm sure this isn't the birthday present you wanted, but I'll keep you updated if things change. At the mention of his birthday, the president felt himself recoil. Such a silly, pointless thing to mention at a time like this. A light flickered somewhere in the room. Bobby, it's Larry O'Brien. I guess I should start out by saying happy birthday. Not every day a man turns 47. The president reflectively balled his fists. Why are people bothering him with this shit? But I'll be meeting with Democratic leaders in New York tomorrow to discuss strategy on the contingent. I'll let you know if there's anything productive coming out of that. More flickering lights, a surprising heat despite the icy November weather outside. The president cast off his jacket without looking. Robert, darling, it's Jackie. I hope you're holding up well. I'm following the news about the election in Greece, and it's just awful. On your birthday, too. It's just... He slammed his finger against the stop button and collapsed into his chair. Was his birthday the only fucking thing people remembered? The only real achievement he could claim? Was his only fucking merit in life persisting, going around the sun 47 times? Being older than Jack ever was when he... Bobby gulped. He loosened his tie. It was so fucking hot. He sat there in silence, hands over his eyes, sweat pouring out of him. It was a moment before he noticed the large stage lights overhead and the assemblage of pieces that his office had been transformed into. A plywood desk in place of the resolute desk. A worn roller chair where his high-backed seat should be. A papery American flag and a printed portrait of his brother, eyes cast downward. It was cheap, tacky. Across from him stood an array of figures: Ethel, Moynihan, Unruh, Shriver, Bird, Connolly, Long, and McNamara. Performers, actors, caricatures with wide smiles and exaggerated makeup, the kind of colorful characters distorted and boiled down to their most essential characteristics that might entertain. Now they stood as one. In Ethel's hands was a large cake with lit candles. Is this what it is all for? Bobby growled. Is this what people get out of me? The group said nothing. Candles flickered beneath the intense stage lights. Shapes teemed in the darkness beyond them. When you take all the pretensions away, is this all people commemorate? A birthday party? A young face with a complicated personality? Another fucking morality to play gawk at? More silence. Long gave him a pitying look. McNamara stared bleakly at the false portrait of Jack. Is that what you're here for? Bobby turned his attention past these shadows and toward the things out of the darkness beyond his reach. Row after row, they stretched before him, a suburic face in raging turmoil. A dark prince. He spat the words. Not anything I actually did or any movement I tried to lead. Not any of the work or... The mask said nothing. It did nothing. It merely stared at him from beyond the threshold. Could you name a single thing I did? A bill I passed? All this for what? To imagine things that never were? The silence was yawning. He felt like he could cry, but he could not let them see his tears. He would not give them that satisfaction. Fuck off. He turned his back to the audience. He stormed his way through the throng of actors, past a Connolly who was more indignant than he had ever been, past a Bird who seemed more cartoonish than his bigotries, past Long who was almost supernaturally weak. He ignored the silent Ethel and the cake in her outstretched hands. I'm not done yet, okay? I still have work to do. I'm going to win this contingent election. I'm going to secure my legacy, Jack's legacy. I'm going to pass bills and programs and more than just a fucking name and a face on a wall. I'm not your paper doll. Do you understand? Do you? I'm not done yet, okay? Oh wait, I already read that part. He turned around, but instead of the stage, he found himself back once more in his office. The room was empty. Papers lay scattered across the floor. His heart thumped fiercely in his chest. I'll show you, he muttered. I'm not done. His eyes fitted across the dark room. His eyes rested on the extinguished light of the answering machine. I'm in control. I'm the president. I get to say what gets remembered. Without a word, the president turned. As he exited the room, the scene once again plunged into darkness. Man, poor guy. Jeez. Now I gotta negotiate. So, party leadership, Dixiecrats are Brahmins. Ugh. Man. Yeah, so I barely lost the popular vote. I mean, McCarthy, what are you doing, man? Come on, get out of here. I guess I'll negotiate. Do I win? Gotta just mute that. And here we go. Is there anything else going on? Oh, there's more. Okay. All right, so we'll read this. Robert F. Kennedy's world had shrunk to a remarkable degree in days since the election. It wasn't just agonizing... Wait, no. No, that's it. Oh. Things that never were. Here's the credits. Pretty good. And yeah, we're kind of inconclusive. You know, is he going to win? Probably not. So, results by state. The closest state is probably going to be California, I'd assume. And yes, it is. Again, California screws me over. What's up with that, California? Why? Why must you do this? But anyway, pretty good scenario. Definitely learned quite a bit from that. RFK, very interesting guy. I can't wait to read his book. Should be pretty good. Let's check the highest McCarthy percentage. His own state of Minnesota. Makes sense. And then DC. What's my highest percentage? DC. and then Massachusetts. All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Going to try to pump these more often, and more videos coming soon.